SA's manufacturing sector delivered another disappointing performance in February, with total production contracting 3.2% year-on-year, according to the latest Stats SA data. Now, according to Stats SA, automotive and petrochemical industries have dragged production lower, defying forecasts of a moderate rebound. Philippa Rodseth, Executive Director of the Manufacturing Circle, joins us now to unpack the print. Thank you so much for your time, Philippa. Is this just another print really hammering in the dire situation that the South African manufacturing industry is in right now?
Zinati, the stats indicate that absolutely we're not in a positive situation from a manufacturing perspective, and I think also more broadly from a global perspective. So as we often see in the month-on-month or year-on-year stats from a manufacturing production and sales perspective, there's often volatility, there's not much consistency. So that really, rings true in terms of what we see in these current statistics, and also not necessarily surprising, given that we've got very low domestic or negligible GDP growth, and that is also compounded by what we're seeing in the global economy, which is very, very volatile and very uncertain.
And the biggest negative contributor there, notably, was the vehicles sector. And I'm wondering if this is a surprise at all, considering the broader trends that we are seeing in the industry.
The vehicle sales are reflective of a few things. Low consumer demand, and that really has to do with economic stress locally within our domestic markets. Also commercial vehicles, light commercial vehicles, showing also perhaps some indication of lower business confidence in upgrading fleets or making those kind of purchases. And then also subdued demand for export markets. In the EU, for example, the increase in pressure and competition from vehicles supplied elsewhere from China, for example, increased pressure on emissions as far as vehicles are concerned, and also just general lower demand. So often, if one looks at what's happening from the demand side, both domestically and globally, that gives some indication of why we are seeing those kind of stats.
And of course, I know that the automotive industry was one of the hardest hit industries by the tariffs. Of course, now we do have a pause in that. But I mean, you spoke about the softer demand from the export markets. And I'm wondering, as much as there has been a pause now in a reduction of tariffs, if there is another extreme situation, could we face more stress in that automotive sector that does fall under the manufacturing sector here in South Africa?
I would suggest not only for automotive, but for export sectors in general. It is very difficult, if one looks at base case principles, for these rapidly changing tariff decisions, and what that does in terms of planning or just the uncertainty that it creates, and great difficulty in having visibility as far as demands, exports, market served planning. So it's something that impacts, I would suggest, across the entire manufacturing sector, and which would also include auto.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and just giving us more detail on the state of the manufacturing industry in South Africa right now. That was Philippa Rodseth, Executive Director of the Manufacturing Circle.